Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and my first craft tutorial for 2025. Today I'm showing you how to make this beautiful Chinese New Year slot together lantern. It looks really pretty, and of course, if I get my magic little remote here, it lights up absolutely beautifully. Just look at all of those wonderful details from the little blossom flowers. I've added a gemstone inside each one for a little bit of extra bling. And there's a built-in ribbon along the top to make these super easy to hang up. This is a free SVG available on my website, so here's how to get it, and then I'll show you how to make these beautiful lanterns. Let's get started. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-SVGs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder, and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, then go to Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the download folder, and then the file to select is the one that starts SVG in the file name. Click and drag it in, and this is what it looks like. Press Continue, and then Upload. And then it will appear directly on your project. The file should load in at 12 inches wide and 13.5 inches tall. If not, then change it to match those sizes. This file comes ready to cut, so there's nothing that you need to do to change on the screen. However, I just want to bring your attention to a couple of things. These 6 blue shapes down the bottom are designed to be cut from vellum or tracing paper or some other kind of translucent material. They'll be glued behind the gaps in the windows to help diffuse the light so that you can't see the light that you put inside the lantern, but you still get a beautiful glow through the material. If you don't have any of that, you could use acetate instead, even if that is completely clear, just to help give the sides that extra bit of stability, or leave them out if you don't have anything that's clear or translucent. If you leave it out, you just need to be careful if you're using fairy lights that none of the strings poke through any of the little gaps in the windows. To make your Chinese New Year lantern even more festive, you could cut the yellow pieces from a gold cardstock to give it some shine. If you want to resize the lantern to make it bigger or smaller, make sure you've got all of the layers grouped. They should load in automatically grouped, and then you can use the boxes at the top to change the size. For example, I could type 15 inches and press enter, and the height changes in proportion. To get an idea of the size of the final lantern, let's just undo that and put it back to the original size. You can ungroup the layers by clicking it in the layers panel and pressing the ungroup button. And then if you click the very top bit here, this shows the size of the lantern itself, the red part. So it's just over 3 inches wide and about 4.5 inches tall. And then you'll also have the size of the fringe section on the bottom, which is approximately 2.2 inches tall. And the ribbon as well, which will be half the size of that, so another 3 inches or so on top. It has been sized specifically to fit a battery-powered tea light, and it also fits the submersible lights that I'll be showing you shortly. When you're happy to get everything cut out, press Make over on the top right of the screen, and that will separate out all the colours for you. You can change the paper size in here. And then if you want to, you can click and drag to move things about, to use up less space on your cardstock. Just make sure when you're moving things that none of the shapes overlap, otherwise they won't cut out properly. You will need to change that size for every single colour if you want each one to be done on a different size of card. Don't forget, this blue one should be cut from vellum, tracing paper or something similar. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press Continue to connect to your Cricut machine and then get everything cut out with your machine. Here are all of the pieces of my lantern cut out and ready to put together. This is the tracing paper or vellum that I've used for the insides, which is going to let a nice diffused glow through. You can see it's sort of semi-transparent there. I've already put together 5 of the 6 sides as they all go together in the same way, but I'll show you how to do it for one of them. And that's what we'll do first. But before we do that, let's take a look at the lights that I'll be using inside. These are LED submersible lights. I bought these on Amazon. I've got a few different ones to choose from, but any battery-powered fairy light or tea light will work fine. I like these because they're quite small and sturdy. You can see the size of them in my hand, so they'll fit nicely inside these lanterns. And to use them, you need to open them up by twisting the first time you use them and take out the little battery protector. And then when you close it back up and twist it tight, it should come on. But if it doesn't, there's a remote which you can use, and that one's still not coming on. There, I hadn't quite closed it tight enough. And then these lights, they can glow all different colours like you can see now, or you can use the remote to set it to one particular colour, for example, yellow or red. So there are lots of different options here. If you're giving these as a gift, the only problem is the pack only comes with one remote, but if you set it to what you want it to be at, it will remember that setting. And then whoever you give it to can just twist them. Make sure you turn it on, twist it to turn it on, and then if you start untwisting it, it will turn off again. So you can give it to someone in the lantern a little bit untwisted, and then they won't need the remote. They can just twist it up when they want to turn it on. Got another one that's come on inside my box. Let's turn that one off too. Okay, so let's put the remaining side together. It doesn't matter which way round you stick the vellum panels because they're the same size at the top and the bottom, but I'm going to try and keep mine the same as the ones I've already done. So turn this over, grab some glue, and then put a little bit of glue around the edge of the cutout shape on the window. Like that. And then take the vellum piece and stick it over. Don't push down too hard because you don't want the glue to smush out and be visible on the parts of the vellum that you can see through the window. I'll give that a moment to dry and shape my flowers whilst that's drying. So you can either give your flowers a little bit of 3D effect, like you can see on this one. It's very small, so I'm trying to get it up close to the camera without it going blurry. You can see there's that slight little bit of 3D effect on the flowers, which is really, really pretty. But if you don't have the tools to do that, it also looks lovely if you just glue them straight on flat as well. So here's an example where the flowers have been glued flat onto the side of each of the lanterns. For the middles, you can leave them plain or you can decorate them. For this one, I've used some little red gemstones in the middle of each of the flowers. This is what I used, these little tiny sticky back gems, and that looks really nice. But if you don't have those, you might have alternative products that would work nicely. For example, Nuvo drops or glitter glue. So these are, it's sort of like old-fashioned kids glitter glue, but better. So you squeeze it out and then it levels itself as it dries into perfect little circles. Here's an example of how that looks. So I used the gold and the red and sort of alternated the way round. You see you've got these lovely circles in the middle and they're nice and shiny, which matches the shininess of the gold I've used on the flowers. For the one I'm making in this video, I am using gold sticky back gemstones for the middle of all of my flowers. So if we take another little look at one of the ones I've already done, you can see those tiny little gemstones in the middle. But if you don't have anything to use, then please don't worry, because even if you don't put anything in the middle, they still look really nice. If you're going to be just gluing them on straight, go ahead and do that. But if you want to give them a little bit more of a 3D effect, here's how to do that. Grab a piece of foam. It could be old packaging from an old delivery you've had, or this is an actual piece of foam I got with a craft tool at some point a long time ago. And then a modelling tool, a ball tool. This is actually used for fondant in cake making, but it works wonderfully for crafts. You could probably also do something similar with kind of the back of a pen, or if you've got a pen that has no ink left in it anymore, you could maybe try using that. Just give it a little practice first. Zoom in a bit because these are very, very small flowers. That's as much as my camera will go. I'll put my flowers on top of the foam. Here we go. And then I'll use the smaller one first. Just going to push it down and give it a little bit of rotation. So I'm just twisting that. And you see it's already started to pull the edges up. And now I'll get the slightly bigger one on the other side, push it down and make little circular motions. And it pushes it to make the petals go upwards. See if I can show you. There we go, just that little bit of depth. I'll do the same with the others. Smaller one first, push it down. Little tiny circles, or just go backwards and forwards with small motions, and then make it a bit more obvious with the bigger one and some little circles. Not sure if I can show it to you at an angle. That doesn't really help, does it? Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And then that's those three. So I'll turn this over now that my vellum's dried. Get my glue and add a nice big blob in the middle for each of those flower shapes. There we go, got a bubble in my glue there, pop that. And then each of the little flowers, put them onto that glue blob and position it so that the petals line up with the shape of the red underneath. It won't go all exactly to the edge, there'll be a little bit of red around. And you can use the ball tool to help maneuver this into position. Quite got that in the middle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle before the glue dries. There's one. Oh, that wasn't very clever, was it? Got it caught on my finger. Luckily, none of the glue's smushed, so we're okay. And third one at the bottom. All of these little flowers are the same size, so you don't need to worry about which one goes on which section. And there we go. So as you can see, that does look really nice just on its own, but I will be adding my gemstones in the middle when that's dry. While that's drying, let's move on to the main structure of the lantern. Take your 3 structure pieces and place them in this order. The first one is the one with the extra fancy bit at the bottom and the top. The second one is the one where you've got 2 little slits in this side and then 2 slits in the top bit here. And the third one is the one with the one long slit coming down from the top and then a slit coming up from the bottom. Take your first 2 pieces and then with the second piece, slot it in to the top of that first one. Carefully put it through, being very careful not to bend or fold your card. And put the slot into the bottom there. So then you should end up with this 4-sided shape. Hold them flat against each other. Take the third structure piece, and this time we're going to go over both of them in the top, push it all the way up, and then again gently pull it through so that the slit goes over into there. And now we have a 6-sided shape. We need to give this some stability, and that's what these 2 circles are for. They're the same size, so it doesn't matter which one you select first. These are going to be put into the little slits that you can see at the top of each of these side bits. You see those tiny little slits in there, and also the second circle will go in the ones in the bottom. So you can see these tiny little gaps. It's really hard to show on camera. There we go, you can see one there, just above my thumbnail. Okay, so open it up so you've got the 6 sides showing. Take one of the circles, put it in the middle of all of the 6 bits, and then we'll slowly start wiggling it into position so that the little slits in the side of the circle go into the slits in the side of the structure. And be very careful as you're going. Don't want to tear anything. You might need to do what I'm doing now, which is just moving one of them a little bit further up and then moving round to the next one and sort of doing them a little bit at a time rather than trying to get one in straight away. The card I'm using is actually quite lightweight. It would have been a little bit better and stronger with card a little bit thicker, but it will still work fine. Once they're in, they do stay in pretty securely, and you'll know when you've got it all right because your circle will be nice and flat. And I can now hold it up, shake it about, and that circle is not going anywhere. And then do the same thing with the one at the bottom. Just slide it in. And then wiggle it all round so that the circle bits go into those slits in the sides. I always find this the hardest bit of doing the lanterns on camera. Okay, that's all of those in. That's also now sitting nice and flat. So now we're ready to start adding the top and the bottom parts. First, we'll do the handle of the lantern, which is this piece here. The top of the lantern is the one with all those bits that we slotted together. You can see them all come to a point at the top. And then you've got these 2 little slits on either side. That is what you're going to put the rectangles in your top bit through. It doesn't matter which way round you do it. I'm going to go in there and then sort of push it down into the slit and get that triangle, it's not a triangle, rectangle down into the side. It's a bit like a clothes hanger kind of mechanism. But once it comes in, it's in there quite securely. And then gently fold it round to make a loop and do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Tuck it in. And now we've got a lovely handle, nice and securely, to hang up the lantern. Here's what it looks like. You can see if I pull it and put a little bit of pressure on, that is not going anywhere. Very nice and secure. The bottom bit works in a similar way. So let's bring back one of the ones from my previous ones. Here's what it looks like. So here's my piece here. Don't worry if you can see this little bit where I've got a weird line going through. I only had a tiny bit of gold card left, and sadly it had a little bit of a line through from another project. So yours won't have that. That's just the card that I've used. But I really wanted gold cards, so I had to go with what I had left. All right, so we're going to fold this round into a circle. For this, the thinner the card you have, actually, the better for these yellow or gold bits. This is a very thick card, so I'm not going to be able to get a perfect circle just because of the thickness of the card. But we're going to sort of try and get it round into a circle shape. And then where you've got the rectangle coming out, you'll glue onto the top of that and then push it round till you get as close to a circle as you can. It might end up looking more like a square, which is probably what mine will look like, and that's fine. Double-sided tape may be easier than glue for this because it will hold straight away, whereas the glue, I'll have to just hold this in place until it's dried, otherwise it'll come apart. So fold it round, and we're lining up those 2 slits so that you can't see a gap between them. Push it round to get as circular a shape as you can. And then I have smushed that glue everywhere. I'm going to have to hold this until that glue dries. So I'm just trying to get that nice circle shape now without moving the glue like I just did. You could put a paper clip or something similar over where the glue is to hold it so that you don't have to actually hold it with your hands until the glue dries. That'll hold it in place nicely. But I don't have any paper clips to hand right now. I should have thought about that before adding the glue on. Alright, so I'm going to pause my video until that's all dry and try and get it a little bit more circular. There we go. And then I will be back in just a moment. My glue has now dried, so we can get this on. It's got 2 little rectangles in each of the sides, so 1 in each side, 2 in total. And just like with the handle, I'm going to put that into the slits, only this time they're at the bottom of the lantern. So I'm going to tuck it round and then pull it through so that it goes in the hole. And the same on the other side. You might need to squish it in a bit to get it to fit. Squish it more into that circular shape. And it's a little fiddly. I think I'm struggling a little bit because I used really thin card for the lantern and really thick card for the gold. Come on. I don't want to tear my red, so I'm being extra careful, probably a little bit more careful than I need to be, because I'm making it more difficult for myself. Okay, done it. I had to move it a little bit closer to my face so I could see what I was doing. My filming area is a long way. My arms are outstretched when I'm filming and I don't have great eyesight. So for little things like this, sometimes I do just need to move it a bit closer. So you can see now that's tucked over both of those little hooks. It's on there really securely. Now, as it is, just as it's made, all this will hang down very straight. And if that's the effect you're going for, that's absolutely fine. You can leave it like this. But I think it looks a little bit better if you sort of rough up some of those cuts a little bit to make it look a little bit less uniform. So to do that, just very carefully turn it and start flicking out some of these lines. We don't want to bend it and make fold lines in there or creases because that'll look a little messy. We're just kind of roughing it up a bit so it's not hanging down perfectly straight along all those cut lines. And you can be as kind of extreme with how much you do this, or you can just do it really subtly, or not do it at all if you prefer it looking completely vertical. Thinner the paper, the easier this would be, but as I've said multiple times, this gold stuff is very thick. Okay. So there we go, that's how that's looking now. And some of them might straighten out a bit over time as gravity sort of takes effect on that. But there we go. If you think you've done it too much, you can just push it in again. There. Almost done. We just need to add the sides now. So take one of your side patterns and then decide which way around you want it to go. Put one of the tabs along the hole in the lantern. It doesn't matter which one. Push it through all the way and then gently kind of move it inwards so that you can fit the bottom slit through the bottom hole. There we go. And push it in all the way. There are 2 different patterns for the sides, so we need to alternate. I've done the one with the triangle line, so my next one will be the one with the straight lines. And I'm going to do it this way round so that my top flowers are on opposite sides. So through there, bend it round, and put it in the bottom, and make sure both of those are in all the way. And then I'll repeat the same until I've only got one left that hasn't been done. Five of my sides are now finished. I've got one left so that I can put the light in the middle. Zoom out a little. There we go. Here's one of my submersible lights. To hold it in place, I'm going to use some blue tack, but you could also use glue to make it permanent or double-sided tape. So I've got my blue tack here. This is white blue tack, white tack. So it's kind of like a sticky-ish putty that I'm going to put on the bottom of my light and squish it all out. And then that will hold it in the right position inside the lantern so it won't move about. So quite a chunk on there. Put that in. And then push it down so it sticks. There. And then my final side can go on. And my finished hanging lantern is now all ready to be turned on. There we go. Let's give it a yellow light, I think. Here's how that's looking. It doesn't look too bright at the minute. I think we need some of these camera lights off. There, look how pretty that is. All perfect for Chinese New Year. They'd look lovely if you made several different ones and displayed them all glowing together. You could add a ribbon through the top to put them on. And that would be really, really pretty. But of course, if you just do one, that's lovely too. Just going to get my other camera light turned away a bit. There we go. Now you can see that glowing even more impressively. And if you wanted to, you could have it go all different colours if you're using these types of light. Or you can set it on one specific colour. It's completely up to you. I hope you've enjoyed this video on how to make light up slot together lanterns for Chinese New Year. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!